so much of what we all want is like this like certainty, these like guarantees that things are going to be a certain way. And I feel like the detachment from that is the highest. It's such a power.
That intuitive higher self can only reach us when we're in the present moment.
Yes.
When we're in that present moment, unless we're under attack at that moment, and rarely are we going to be hit by a vehicle or a lion or something, that when we're in that present moment is when we are neutral, when we are able to say, okay, right now I am safe. It is the reality that I am creating in my mind that gets me into anxiety, that gets me into these other states where I'm not able to function clearly. It's the energy that is for the greatest good. And that's where, when we start to get into expectation, when we start to get into kind of the left hemisphere, the critical thinking mind,
Yeah.
that's when we lose it, because that's when we're into worry, that's when we're into fear.
Hey, guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey guys, how are you today? It is Alison from Alison Answers and Lager Counseling Services. I have a quick bio for you for my next guest. Her name is Jenn Cohen, and she has a beautiful bio. I'm excited to have her on. She's an intuitive consultant who empowers individuals and organizations to harness their inner wisdom for clarity, alignment, and transformative decision making. Couldn't we all use that, for God's sakes? She has a 27-year tenure in the entertainment industry, collaborating with the giants like DreamWorks, NBC Universal and IMAX, and Warner Media. Jenn recognized that her most impactful decisions stemmed from intuition. I couldn't agree with that more. This realization led her to establish her own practice where she guides clients into tapping into their innate truth and balance. Jenn's approach is both grounded and accessible, assisting clients in navigating life transitions, career shifts, and personal growth. Her work emphasizes the importance of intuitive clarity in achieving a fulfilling life. What I just want to tell you guys about what's about to happen with Jenn is that I think that our whole world has shifted to a higher level consciousness, which allows for more room in the workplace, in our emotional lives, in our social lives, for this kind of construct of using our inner voice, our intuition, to keep us safe, to ensure that we get on the right path. I do believe, and I operate like this as a human. I utilize this inner voice, this still small voice inside of me, to lead me in the right direction. If something feels off, it is. And I listen to that. And it has been such a wonderful guide for me. I have, gone out on a date and then said, it's just everything about this guy seems great, but something doesn't seem right. And I will then listen to that. Or I'll notice that, a person is like really cool and wonderful, but then I notice like, you know what? This person doesn't align with what's important to me about, how I want to live or what I want to do. And then also in hiring people, so many times I have sat in an interview. I'm the last person to give a go. And everybody's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's something inside of me. I'm like, there's something off. And I feel it. I see it. And when I've listened to that, I've been grateful. And when I haven't, I got a beautiful lesson in wisdom of, wow, that was true. And I think that's how we learn from this. So I'm so excited to have this woman on, because I think that she's going to have a lot of tips and tricks to show us all how we can just tap further into our intuitive nature. Love it. Hey, guys, how are you today? It is Alison from Alison Answers and Lager Counseling Services. As I mentioned, I have this cool guest that is going to teach us about her fascinating life, but also what I want to pre-frame for you is that all of us, I think we have moved in our world to a different level of consciousness. And it's exciting to be able to finally have validation for that still small voice inside of our body that is always directing us and taking care of us, and the confusion that happens with the abusing voices inside of us. So I'm so fascinated to have you on, and I want everyone to know that by the end of this podcast, you are going to have an understanding of what is happening inside of your body, your mind, and your spirit. And I believe being able to distinguish between those. And, no pressure, Jen. Just, they all need to know that before you go. But anyhow, it'll be like 4 hours. But anyhow, so without any further ado, this is Jenn Cohen, who I mentioned. So, Jenn, thank you so much for being here.
Well, my pleasure. It's really so great to be here with you.
Thank you. Could you tell us about your, you know, you went from, Jenn and I were discussing how Jenn began in California, went to Manhattan, of all the God forsaken places. I'm in New York, so I'm not criticizing, but there, and was there, I believe, 10 years, and then went back to California. So, and you were in the entertainment industry. Could you just tell us about that and how you came to this path, which is fascinating to me?
Yeah, I was in the entertainment industry for 27 years. I worked everywhere from I started at DreamWorks in the publicity department doing publicity for the animation division of DreamWorks, which was so incredible, so incredible. And it was at a time when animation was still very much hand-drawn, and then went into, the 3D and more animation as we know it now with Toy Stories and Shreks and all those good, amazing films. And then I did international marketing for IMAX, went into production, and was producer on some shows, on some television shows.
Tell us the shows, Jenn. What are they?
Late night shows.
Oh, yeah.
More reality-based shows. And then I landed a job that took me to New York, that took me to Manhattan. And it was that leap into the executive life that I had been kind of wishing and wanting for all of my career. And I got into the busy energy of that city. And what a difference. I saw more people on the subway every single morning than I would probably interact with in a month. And that's just one ride. And intuition has been all a part of my life. And we can get into that obviously a little bit more. But I needed that polarization. I needed that discovery of knowing what wasn't my energy, what was my energy, in order to really kind of fuel me to my job now, which is an intuitive consultant and channel.
I love what you just said, because I didn't think of it that way, but now I do. That because I do think about like all the different energies around us and the interference, right? So I would love to hear what more about that. Like, how do you see how the energies that are around us interfere with us being aware of our intuition?
Absolutely.
Yes, tell us.
So I think a lot of people identify as empaths.
Mm.
And what that means is that you're really picking up on other people's energy and kind of taking it on as your own, right?
Mm.
And so when we can begin to understand that our energy field is getting dusty from other people's energy,
Yes.
we can begin to kind of clear that out. We can dust that. We can kind of visualize, almost, I always visualize kind of a feather that's just kind of getting the dust out of my kind of like forehead area, in my, neck area where my throat is, all the way down kind of the chakras, the heart.
Yes.
And just kind of clearing. And when I was able to begin to tap into my intuition, which you can access your intuition best when you're in a neutral spot. So that means, nature, that means joyful energy. So depending on what you like to do, if it's dancing, if it's driving in the car with your windows down, if it's singing, if it's listening to music, if it's, some people love to do dishes and love to do laundry. Not me, but some people.
Who are those people?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that's when you're able to tap into your own energy, your own intuitive self, and you can really start to separate, oh, you know what? That's not mine. That's another person's energy. And being in Manhattan, I would step on that subway and I was like a sponge. I would feel everybody's annoyance, everybody's anxiety, everybody's sadness, everybody's worry. And by the time I got off my spot, I was drained.
Yeah.
Walking into the office. And I needed to develop skills and tools that literally helped me protect myself from
Yeah.
and that's what your intuition can do.
Oh gosh, I have so many questions. I love this conversation. Okay, so I love that you said dusty because sometimes when we're interviewing people, I'll just look and I'll be like, they seem dusty. And I would always say that and they would laugh, but I really meant it. Like I could see. But this is my question. So in my field, right, in counseling centers, right? So I have a lot of therapists that work for me. So one of the things that I see in this field is that people become there's this like mindset over therapists, which I'm trying to break that shit off of them actually. But okay, so basically the mindset is like burnout and like, and I believe that we have some say so over it. So I feel like in a way, like this is cool because one of the things I'll explain, like when I would sit with clients, I used to sit, let's say they started talking about something that I felt I could feel it.
Mhm.
So I would start to visualize myself like in this bubble of love, like, and there was like cushioning all around me. Or I would tell the therapist, like, put like a cloak around you, cover your heart and just you can listen and still be in yourself, but it takes like practice, right? Is this similar to what you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and do you think okay. Got it. Now I'm just going to talk. I'm using this podcast for myself. I got to get my shit together. Okay. So basically, seriously, because it's like, I just notice whenever I'm going to have a podcast, I notice that the guest, I swear they're just here for me. I'm not kidding. It's like the days leading up, there's stuff that happens around my life that I'm like, why is this happening? And today I thought, this podcast is not going to be that again. This can't be. And you know what it is?
Yeah.
Because I did not understand over the last, just today and yesterday, I was so irritable and angry. And I'm just typically not like that. I love life. I like really enjoy things. And I was so irritable. And then all these like really odd, weird things were happening. And I was like, this is too, even driving here. It was the oddest experience. I'm not even going to get into it. It was definitely you could tell it was a real thing that was happening. Like almost two major accidents, paying attention to me. Every person that was ahead of me was driving super like extremely slow, but normally that wasn't bothering me. I just noticed it.
Mhm.
So now what is my question? My question is like when I'm feeling all of this, like really uncomfortable feelings, irritable, like all of a sudden sad, like, do you think that it's because maybe someone else is having this experience and I'm absorbing it? Because I think someone that I was in proximity to was having those feelings, but I'm usually pretty separate. So I'm just wondering what you think of that.
Yeah, it could be a couple things. So if you're in an enclosed space, were you alone in your car?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're alone in your car and you're having that feeling, it could be a residual from who you were talking with, but most likely what's happening if I'm tuning into you right now,
But that wasn't even in the car, the irritability. Well, sadness was. Okay, never mind. I'm going to let you talk.
something that they said, if that name is kind of popping up to you right now, it might not be that you're taking on energetically what they had, but they might have said something to you that needed to be said, is what I'm hearing. And that is causing some irritability or some sadness for discovery.
I got to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And what the figuring out of it, as again, I'm tuning into you right now, is you don't necessarily have to figure it out, but being open to receive the information is all you need to do right now. So it's okay. I noticed that. I noticed I'm sad. I noticed what transpired. And you've talked about this before. I've noticed what's transpired before. And that this is the shift in my energy. Okay. It's not our job to hunt down our intuition. It's our place and our responsibility to put ourselves in a place to hear it. And so that car is, again, they have your attention. It is your undivided attention. And it's saying, okay, there's a sadness here that just needs to be explored. And that whatever feeling happened prior is just to get to that emotion that you're having when you're solo in your car. And that person, again, might just have been in that flow to get you to that discovery.
You know what's interesting? I think that because I did discover something in the car that I'm not going to share with the whole entire world, but what I did discover was along the lines of when you want something, and I'm always like preaching this, when you want something, very often there's an adjoining resistance to that thing when you're not having it, right? And then I think my discovery in the car was like, wow, like that is real. Like I really don't want that shit. It's like the thing that I think I want so much. I'm like, oh my God, I really don't want it. And then I was sad that I didn't want it, but I did discover that. And I was like, oh, well, how could I have it and not be resistant to it? And then I kind of went to that, right? But I know that I'm being a little vague about my own life. But basically, so with your work and like, because we're talking about like the energies like around us and protect, like, guarding our heart for it's like the wellspring of life. I just read that today, actually, which is weird, that we're protecting ourselves from energy that we don't want to come in. But then how about like then finding that I I guess you would call it like being head, heart, feet all in the same spot and in a neutral area where you can then hear, what would you say that is? Like God, your highest self? Like
Yeah.
what do you think?
For me, it's source, but
Yeah.
it's also our intuitive self.
Yes.
It's the guidance and it's the energy that is for the greatest good. And that's where when we start to get into expectation, when we start to get into kind of the left hemisphere, the critical thinking mind,
Yeah.
that's when we lose it, because that's when we're into worry, that's when we're into fear. And source, or that intuitive higher self, can only reach us when we're in the present moment.
Yes.
When we're in that present moment, we unless we're under attack at that moment, and rarely are we going to be hit by a vehicle or a lion or something that's
Yeah.
or something like that. When we're in that present moment is when we are neutral. And when we are able to say, okay, right now I am safe. It is the reality that I am creating in my mind that gets me into anxiety, that gets me into these other states where I'm not able to function clearly.
Yes. Yes. Do you think that when we're in this state where we're not hearing clearly, right? I feel like so much of what we all want is like this like certainty, these like guarantees that things are going to be a certain way. And it's so interesting because like I was thinking in the car about the shift from certainty or faith that, whatever it is, wanting something and wanting it to turn out a certain way, some level of success, some sort of something, and then being able to say, I surrender completely the outcome. I feel like the detachment from that is the highest. It's such a power because now no attachment to it like makes it come, and it doesn't matter if it comes. So you're good. But what was my point? My point is that like I feel like doing like when you surrender it, is that the similar place of being neutral?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll tell you a story about how I discovered my intuition. And I didn't understand where it was, but there was something in me that said, okay, this is the practice. So at the age of 20, I was just starting my junior year of college and received a phone call that my dad had passed very suddenly and unexpectedly.
Oh God.
And so went home right away. And the evening of his funeral, I was lying on his side of my parents' bed by myself, and all the lights were off. It was complete darkness, and I was just kind of calling out and saying, "God, God, why?" And all of a sudden, again in complete darkness, the bedside light flashes on and off, and I just stopped crying and looked at the light, and I said, "Dad, is that you?" Flash on and off and on and off. And it was in that moment that I completely understood, okay, there's something much bigger and greater, and that my father is here with me. And while it's going to be tough, I know he's here. I looked up to school and I would see flashing lights like in the college neighborhood where I lived, go on when I would pass under them. And no one else really noticed, but I would notice they would flicker, and he was with me. And in my grief, being a 20-year-old, I really got stuck in the anger stage of that and all of the milestones that he was gonna miss out on. And so I just said to him, I made a pact with him and I said, "Dad, since you left me so early, you're going to take the responsibility of always making sure that I am provided for in a job. I'm going to be able to live, without worry that I'm going to be able to take care of myself in my career." And I felt just immediately, he's like, "Okay, like that's easy. Like, got it. Got it." And so he did. And it didn't mean that there weren't tough times and, times when I was unemployed and looking for a job. It didn't mean that, but I always knew that I had handed this over and gotten it out of my worry brain, and that he was going to have it. And he would send me signs through ladybugs, through coins, through lights. And when I would be on an interview, I'd look out the window and there'd be a ladybug on the window. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, you can't make it up. And so what I didn't understand at the time that I grew to understand is that when we can have a situation that we're spending so much time worrying about in college, you have to pick your major, right? I don't know if that's still the same, but at the time you had to pick your major, and that was always like, oh God, I'm going to be locked into this for my entire life. And it was such a big thing that was such a worry for me. But the minute I could hand that over to my dad, and now bigger, it's my intuitive self, it's source, it's whatever you believe in, knowing that they will take that and that they will be able to guide me on the path that is always going to be for my greatest good, for my best good, for the highest outcome. And so I'm able to take that experience and use it for money, relationships, even small things. Like when this is just such a tiny thing in the grand scheme of things, but I get in my car and I say, okay, guides, my parking lot guides, set for my parking spots, find me a parking spot that's close to the entrance, and bing, bang, boom, it'll be there. But it's that trust and it's that belief that they have your back. Whoever you're giving that question, that worry over to, they've got your back. And so that creates the neutral. That creates the ability, to kind of get out of your head and just go, no, they've got this. They've got this. They want this.
I'll tell you something. It's the alignment is incredible because ladybugs are a sign for me. When my husband passed 4 years ago, and on the day that he died, my phone flashed and flashed and flashed, went off. There were so many of those exact things. My TV, same thing. And yeah, and there's so many of the different things you said is exactly, it's just so similar to my, I just know that, we're meant to talk. So, but the concept of trust, surrender, faith, certainty, those are like power moves. Like like you made a decision, you set that intention with your dad, trusting him, and that faith in you, like ensured it. Like it was no matter what, that was happening. And like our brain is this goal-driven machine. So with that certainty and those emotions, like you're going to see all the ways to get to be a badass like you are in the entertainment industry and everything, right? So it's so, I love this.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, I saw that you kind of help people to identify their intuition. So I'm going to give such a small little example. So forever ago, I would get these little like nudges, like, oh, bring tissues with you, or take that little piece of paper. And what would happen is that I'd be like, oh, that's crazy. And I wouldn't take it. Then wherever I was, the oddest thing is I needed the thing that I was told to take. So then like a wise person said to me, oh, you're being taught to hear the voice. So when you don't do it, just see that as a lesson, right? So with that, and then I know my emotions and thoughts in regard to things like this were not shut down when I was a little kid. You know, I had other issues in my family, but these were not. But I think for a lot of people, you know, being in tune with that inner voice was like compromised or punished, you know, or poo-pooed for children. So when you're trying to help somebody distinguish between that honest voice, that real voice, and then the abusive voice or the fear, doubt, I mean, that is all over the place. Like, don't go that way, you know?
Yeah.
And I know that I'm going to say just one more thing, and then I want you to just go with it. Several years ago, it was like my son was going out. He was home from college. He was going out. And I just knew something in me. I was like, I don't want you to go. I said to my husband, I don't want him to go. I feel like something's wrong. He's like, Ma, no, everything's okay. And he said, you know, we're getting an Uber. We're going to be fine. So 20 minutes later, I get a phone call, major accident. The Uber driver hit a brick wall. All of the boys in the car were in the hospital. I knew. So then that part of that makes me think, because I've always known, I always had an intuitive knowing when someone was going to die. My son didn't die, but I just kind of knew. So then I always wonder, how do you distinguish between the voice of fear? Because I've also had fear voices and doubt, and then just knowing.
Yeah. Yeah. So when in knowing, there is not a question attached.
Yeah.
Alice doesn't operate in language. We put language to it.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's the knowing. And when we're in fear, it's again, it's almost like a ping pong match in your brain. And it's like, well, what about this? And what about this? Well, this could happen, that could happen. Yeah. It's like the mind is kind of scanning the landscape of like saying, okay, I'm just going to protect. I'm going to protect. I'm going to protect. And again, that's great and wonderful in so many other situations. But in our daily life, again, we don't need that primitive mind that we've evolved from, and thank God, you know, and that's where coming back to the present moment helps and is such a great tool, and it doesn't take long at all. You name 3 things in front of you. I see a green tree, I see a red flower, I see a candle. Okay, I'm grounded, I'm back in my reality. Let me check in with my body. Nope, I still don't want my son to go. Oh, okay. There it is. That's it. It's just a knowledge. And it's coming back. It's making that kind of U-turn, you know, from the exterior coming back into the body, into the heart space. In fear, you can really tell that you're in fear. I clench my jaw, my shoulders go up, I feel a friction in my chest. I can look down, my hands are balled up into a fist. You know, my hips get really tight. This is all the body's reaction to a fearful thought, to a fearful experience that it believes is real.
Yeah.
you're telling it it's real.
How do you work with people to help them to utilize that voice? I know that very often it's societally acceptable more with women than with men. I know that like a lot of people who listen, it's not just people like from the counseling portion of life. It's also like a lot of entrepreneurs because I belong to these groups, a lot of like business owners. So like a lot of leadership, people about leadership. So I'm just wondering, I love intuitive leadership. Yeah. So how does someone like you in the corporate world, do that? A woman also with men, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's fascinating is I always say I was never hired for my PowerPoint skills. That's for sure. And I was actually guided by my father 5, 6 years ago to leave the entertainment industry and in my job as I knew it and become an intuitive consultant for businesses and for people and for executives. And so it's again kind of a full circle moment of, him guiding me to that. And I could have probably left 2, 3 years before I did. And that's the thing with intuition. It doesn't often get loud, but it does repeat itself. When I'm talking with executives, it doesn't mean, okay, now we're going to throw everything out the window and we're going to just jump right into it. And we're just going to start, that's not what we do. It's an awareness. And we all have intuition. I call it our first sense rather than our sixth sense. It's the first sense that we have when we're born. And we gradually throughout life pile on top of it and top of it and top of it and top of it with culture, with how we're raised, with the constructs. And we're much more of the feminine energy than we were years ago. And again, like the right side, creative thinking is the feminine side of the brain. And then the masculine side, which is the critical thinking, which we've been doing for the patriarchal years and for those much more masculine years. And we've over relied on that. So it's a balance. It's not getting rid of that. It's really understanding people's values, and then what are the beliefs around those values? And the beliefs are our storytelling. Beliefs are what we have grown accustomed to believing that that's how we achieve our values. And so we look at language a lot. And intuitive language is very different than how most people speak on a daily basis. And when we can just start to see the patterns that we have created in our life and say, okay, that's an interesting, philosophy of, I have to work blood, sweat, and tears in order to, make a difference. And it's like, actually, no, that's a myth. And let me give you a couple examples of why that's untrue. And so we start to peel away a lot of the dust.
Yes.
And we start to introduce, for executives, I'll always start with intention, and this trickles down to their teams and what the intention is. And the intention is very different from a goal. The goals are what meet the intention, but the intention is a much higher vibration. It's not so egocentric. And so then when we can relate back up to those, and again, our intuition is informing our intentions, it's a beautiful way to start to live much more easily.
It really, truly is. Hey, guys, how are you? Isn't that amazing? This story that we're hearing on this show is great. I want to just give a shameless plug of my book. I would really want people to have a good look at my book and to understand what it really is. I used to be ashamed to plug my book. And then I realized, how is that right? To keep the information, the 30 years of experience that I have, the 8 years of education, the trauma that I grew out of and learned how to manage and how to manage emotion, all the training I've had in neuroscience and quantum physics. How can I keep that from the public? So it's not, I used to think it was like something I should, be humble about, but being humble is silly when you're keeping things away from people that they need. So what I want to tell you about my book, and I hope that you do get it, because I think it will really help you. I've gotten a lot of tremendous feedback about my book and that it's really, really of great value to a lot of people. And what it is, it's an interactive read. And there's inside of it, there's journal entries. So as I'm teaching and going through the book and teaching you how to create the life you want by understanding how you're wired, how your thoughts, feelings, how your words, how thoughts are things, and the neuroscience behind it, and how we are programmed from the time we're 0 to 7 years old to live a life of mediocrity or a life of poor design because of meaning that we attached to events when we were children that just became our programming. What I want to tell you is that there is a way out, and it's a simple way. It's very simple. I believe in the simplicity and the grace in healing, and that it doesn't have to be a big work. So I would love it if you'd get my book. It's a best-selling book on Amazon, and it's my first. And I encourage you to get it. It's called The Wake Up Call, an interactive read for building the life you want. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thanks so much for being on the show, and let's get back to it. Are you able to give us an example of someone who's, really stuck on seeing goals, and you're helping them to consider the intention? Would you be able to walk us through that? Because I think that would really help people.
Yeah. So right now I'm working with a business that is in the process of deciding about working in the workplace. So employees coming in to work versus remote working. And originally, when the pandemic hit, they were fine with 5 days, remote. And now they're wanting to incorporate back into the office. And so rather than we need to see you're working and it's important to be in the space. And okay, great. That's okay. But let's start with the intention. What is the intention of your business? And the intention, we'll go through multiple rounds of this because, the intention is to make money, And so a lot of people have done mission statements. This is actually taking it one step farther. And so for this business, their intention was to bring experiences to life. It was to reach people and bring them joy with the content that was being brought in real life experience. So it's much more kind of an events type of knowledge. Okay. So if that is the intention of this division, then it looks like it is important for everyone to be in real life for this, department.
Yes.
In order to achieve that. So we started to just kind of workshop it in that way. And it wasn't so I can see that you're doing the work and I can see that you're, blah, blah. No, it's actually, we need to practice what we're getting out into the world. We need to practice this, and we need to become holistic in how we want that vibration to be. And if someone is resistant to that, again, there's lots of different reasons that they could be. And because you add in the challenge of, we told everybody that they could live from whatever they wanted 5 years ago. But when you start to explain it, and the person might say, they're living in a different state at this point. I completely understand that vision. I understand that intention. Here's a solution. Here's how I would like to show up. Here is what I can do so that you see my energy is matching that.
Yes.
And it can take all different forms and creates creatively how everybody feels really good about that. And so it's just, again, it's allowing the energy to move together. And if someone is resistant and they're like, no, you said I could live here and you okay, then that's something we need to look at separately because that intention is not lining up.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like being what you want to attract, right? Like the whole division becoming what you're creating. Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to help people unravel how much they've become their own enemy? I mean, it's a big, huge.
Everybody's at a different stage, and it's funny. I don't find it difficult. I find it so inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah, because each time that someone shows up, they're showing their intuition, they're showing the universe that they're serious. And so the disappointment comes when, if someone's just like, I'm done, I'm giving up.
Yeah.
But any time that I'm able to meet with someone, have a conversation with someone, there's progress.
Yes.
I mean, that's where the expectation again is able to fall away, because there is no doubt that we're sitting here talking today.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt, like even in those decisions that seem, oh, that didn't work out. I can tell you there's a synchronicity that happened there.
Yeah.
While it might not be showing up for you this moment, it's either showed up for the other person,
Yes.
you have been within your energy, and because, we can get into time and space and all that, but how it's going to boomerang back at some point, there is no doubt. And
Yes.
just knowing that, oh no, that wasn't a mistake. Like you said, it was, I followed this path for a reason, and the universe is going to provide me that reason too.
I'm sure there's so many different things that people really want and need guidance in, right? Just, the whole world is wanting things and they want them all the way into their grave. And it's really seems like almost like an epidemic of people who are like searching for a soulmate and there is no one there. And you can see all YouTube, all the videos are all about this now. Like it seems like it's a craze almost. And it's almost like people have developed a belief that it can't happen, like almost like a larger a larger group think that's going on. So that's why I was making videos, like just because you think men are this way doesn't mean they're this way, right? So there's like that. And then there's like people who want to obtain a certain amount of money, which we know, obviously we cap it in our brain, like how much money they can have. But how do you help people? Like, how would you help someone who's like searching their whole life for a soulmate and they're like, oh, I guess I'll just pack it in, like.
What we'll talk about is, you've talked about this too, the misconception or what they're envisioning a relationship looks like, right? The old ball and chain, or
Right.
this is going to be annoying. They're going to be asking me for this, oh, I'm not going to have my free time. I'm not going to have my voice. I'm going to have to go see their in-laws. When I'm in discussion with people that are viewing it that way, I will say, thank God the universe isn't bringing me that right now.
Yes.
That is exactly what will show up for you.
Yes. Right.
You are protected. And then the work begins with, okay, why do we think that all men cheat?
Right.
Why do we think that my heart's going to be broken? Why do we, and we'll go back and there'll be a lot of, U-turn work where it's like, okay, what happened? Whether it be when you were a child and witnessed your parents, or, a later in life heartbreak, and
Right.
then residual dust that you're holding on to. And then we start to just dust that away. And our intuition is so reactive to that work. It's like it will just drop in the biggest gifts every day to say, I see you working on this. And just like the signs, the television flashing on, the electricity, the ladybug, it's like, we see what you're doing, you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's so cool. And you know what? I feel like it ties into what you were just talking about, or, about because if whatever the belief is that resists, that is in opposition to what someone wants, if you can have a relationship with yourself, you trust yourself to be able to ensure that that doesn't happen. Whatever it is you're concerned about, that could come along with the good thing, like, oh, they snore.
Yeah.
Well, whatever, I don't know, or I won't have freedom. So, oh, well, how about you ensure that you're not with someone where you don't have freedom or you ask for what you want. So it's like, doesn't that tie into developing that self-trust?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in the practice of, boundaries, in the practice of, being able to say no.
Yeah.
And not thinking, oh God, if I say no, then I'm going to lose them. And then that's going to be terrible. And then I'm going to be single again. And blah, blah, blah. No, That's not it anymore. That's it. That's a teenage way. And we're grown now. And we understand we can take care of ourselves. And we're not calling in someone to take care of us. We're calling in someone, to be a partner to us. And that's the lowest bar.
Yes, I love that. There's two different leaders I want you to speak to. What would you tell a leader who is completely resistant to this and is like, no, like you got hard work, you just gotta, whatever, that leader. And then what would you tell the leader who's like, you know what? I keep hearing this, I knew it. And then I don't know, I people pleased and I did what everybody else wanted. And that's common, So, and I just think all we really want is clarity, because clarity is peace. It's so good.
Oh, so good.
It's so good. God.
I'll start with the leader that hard work, push, push, push. I would start with some of the challenges that they're facing and some of the stress in their body, because where that is coming from is a fear that they have about either their department not meeting a goal, either them being criticized and let go, their history of how they got to where they are, which is a different time, the generation maybe that they're leading, and where that mindset is now. But I would really get to what's behind the push, the grind, the wear yourself out, leave nothing on the table. And I would get to how that is working for them.
Yes.
And usually there's a lot of backstory there. And this person will, I need to be tough, or this person won't listen. And then that's when we start to massage that a bit. Okay, well, let's take this tactic. I know I know it might feel uncomfortable for you, but we're going to kind of do some A/B testing. They love A/B testing, right?
Yes, so much.
For data and all of that. And then we start to see the softening that happens. And there's soft skills and there's hard skills. Hard skills have taken the forefront for many of the personalities that you're talking about. But at the end of the day, when there can be a relationship or communication that it doesn't have to be all the way to soft skill. It can even be in the middle, but even just those baby steps of dialing back that harshness a little bit, you start to see a result without as much effort, without as much screaming. And so that's how we just start to develop that. And again, it's not like you flip a switch and, you're a different network the next day, or you're a different business, or you're a different person, but it's those baby steps. And it starts to make a difference.
What do you think about people who passed? And when we were talking about guides and, intuition, like just about the different messages, I consistently see one number that just has forever. And it's just there's no rhyme or reason. It's not, I see repeated numbers too, but 826 all the time. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so that to me is 16. 1 + 6 is 7, which is psychic.
And what's weird? 7 is my number. My birth, all of that. So I've been searching all these years for somebody to tell me what the hell is this. So if I'm getting that message, what would you believe that message is?
So when you see that number, I would attune to try and kind of backtrack about what's been on your mind, what's ruminating.
Yes.
And tuning into your intuition, because psychic, again, we have put labels on what psychic means, and very future based and all of this. As an intuitive, and I'm an intuitive channel as well, it's working with the energy in the present moment. Beautiful. So then we can dial in, okay, I'm not psychic. I'm not going to, forecast what's happening in the past. Let me go into what has been ruminating, what I have been wanting some clarity around. That's my intuition telling me, right now, just get yourself into a space of receiving and let it flow.
So you just called yourself something. What did you call yourself? Intuitive what? Channel. Okay. Could you explain what that is? Because to people who may not know what that is.
Sure. So I'm able to work with people to connect with their higher self, with energies, with people that might have passed, with people that are still on this earth, their higher selves, with pets, trees, plants. I'm able to channel messages from the fifth dimension. the collective dimension, and bring forth those messages through, the most loving way, through those most loving vibrations and energy. I'm not channeling anything negative, anything low energy. That's just not what I'm here to do. We can all kind of do that on our own. And so that's what I am as an intuitive channel. And I help people a lot with like conflict resolution, because we get stuck so much into that critical thinking mind and that ego mind. When we are able to open ourselves up to a much higher message, it allows our body, it allows our self to take a step back and put some space between us and the problem at hand, or the perceived problem at hand.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw when I was reading about you that you have like tips, tricks, skills, tools. Is there anything that you wouldn't mind sharing here with the audience, like what some tools they can use?
Yeah. So the first tool, and it's in these tools are really and I would take a beat now and just kind of watch how you hear these tools and tips, because I know for me, they seem so simple and they seem so obvious that I could immediately cast them away.
I understand that.
Because our minds have been trained, if something's not hard, it's not that thing.
Yes.
Yes. It's just so,
Right.
so again, that's being able to say to, the critical mind, our ego, just take a little nap here. You've deserved a little break. I'm just going to let my intuition come online, and being aware and saying, I have intuition. Everybody's born with it. Everyone has the ability to use it. And I'm ready to access this sense a bit more so that it can add to my other five senses. It can add to my life. It can help me begin to achieve a greater and easier way of moving through this life. How beautiful is that? So one of the first tool that, again, is going to sound, oh, it's too easy, is to find something that you love doing. For me, I mentioned Pilates. That's something I love doing. I can talk myself out of it very easily, but I love doing it. And once I'm there, I'm in bliss. I'm not thinking about anything else. Being out in nature is the easiest way to tap into your intuition. Easiest. So get yourself out in nature and just name kind of 3 things that you see. It brings you right into the present moment. You can hear birds, talk to a tree. You don't have to talk to a tree. You can touch a tree barefoot on the grass. If you're near an ocean, water, it is unbelievable. Give your intuition a task. So you can say, I would love a sign today around, it could be someone that has passed. It can be, I would like to see a sign. Send me a sign. I'm just picking like a purple panda bear. That's going to let me know that I'm on the right path. And that purple panda bear can show up in a book, a drawing, a mural. Someone can just say something, it can show up in a commercial, but then just be aware that this sign is being delivered to you.
Yes.
And
love that.
yeah, I mean, I can go on and on and on, but those are just a couple.
I feel like I would want to say to people, don't quit before the miracle happens.
Yeah.
We're here like if you knew me when I was 18, 19, 20, I was such a jackass. Like, I mean, the things that I just did and didn't know, and the negative thoughts, and now I'm like completely different. So what would you say? Tell us anything you want to share, because I know I'm just chatting back and forth. I want to know anything you want to share with anyone, any particular type of person, or somebody struggling, anything.
Well, I was exactly what you were talking about at 18, 19. That was me, and I became a version of myself that I didn't recognize even, 6 years ago.
Yes.
So there just comes a tipping point where you're tired of being tired.
Yes.
You're tired of being uncomfortable. You're tired of waking up miserable. And when that tipping point hits, it's when you're ready for this change.
Yeah.
It's universal change. And don't beat yourself up if you're not ready. But also don't close yourself off to the possibility that you will be.
Yes.
And that is enough right now. It's not like you have to go full Pollyanna, you don't have to fully embrace this. It's steps and stages. And I know that I have many stages to go. And this is where I am right now. I know nothing, right? And there's such a freedom in that. There's a freedom in letting go of having to believe that I have it all figured out. And I think there's a saying, you make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
And this is just such a beautiful version of being able to receive rather than constantly giving of yourself. And, the first step that I always like to tell people is, I envision myself when I'm giving too much is, you envision a line of people that are kind of waiting to ask you questions, to ask something from you, right? And that line can extend, for miles. But put yourself at the front of the line and then watch and have it be a younger version of yourself. Watch as you bump her back in line. And you see the people cutting in line in front of her. And you can see their face, him or her. You can see their face like, oh, really? You're going to take that schmuck over me? Oh, that's interesting. You're going to take that over me? And like you just see. And then at the end of the day, she's in the very back of the line. She never got any advice from you. And again, a younger version of yourself. But to me, that's a really good visual of just starting, like acknowledging that person in the beginning of the day. Hey, I see you. I'm here for you. And, it's going to be a busy day, but I promise I'm going to come back to you a couple times in that day. And even just that alone, it's just showing your intuitive self. It's showing yourself that not all hope is lost. You're not going to continue to kick them back to the end of the line. And that's just a little small practice.
Tell us, Jenn, what is the best way that people can contact you if they want to work with you? Or I don't know if you take private clients or what you do, but tell us everything.
Absolutely. Private clients are some of my absolute favorite hours, half hours. But so I work with businesses. I work with clients around any part of your life, any part of your life that you would like support, guidance around from, again, a higher energy, from your higher self, from anyone that you would like to contact, whether here on earth or that have transitioned. And it's a conversation. We just talk, and I'll directly channel, or, again, we'll just have a conversation like this where I'll just bring forward what I'm hearing. And it'll just sound like me. And on my website, which I know you'll have in your show notes.
Yes. But tell us anyhow what it is.
It's Jenn Cohen. So it's Jenn with 2 N's, Cohen, intuitive.com. And it's all on there. So I can talk about this for hours and hours. But, if you want to send me an email or just schedule a session, we'll go from there.
So that's how, and if they can do that through your website.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that you are an incredible blessing. I'm sure that you're helping so many people. I want to thank you so much for being here. I know that the listeners have gotten a lot out of hearing you, like more than we probably both even know, but I know I've gotten a lot just by connecting with you. I feel like I know you now. I feel like you're my friend now. So I'm just so grateful to know you. And I want to thank you so much for coming here and giving your time. Really appreciate it.
My honor, my pleasure. Thank you for your generosity. It was so fun.
It's a wrap. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. I just want to say to you that we are all together a part of the Mission Awake, a mission that's going to stop the mediocrity that's plaguing all of us. So if you got something here today, I ask that you would be a part of this mission and you'd share it with whoever you can. Take a screenshot of the show and share it on your Instagram. If you are looking for me, you can find me on social media platform Instagram, Alison Answers, or Lager Counseling Services. And give us a review and subscribe if you could to YouTube, Alison Answers. That's where you're going to get a lot of content. I drop stuff every day, goofy stuff, all different kinds of stuff. 5-minute videos that just get you moving in your day. Have a great week. See you next time.